Hey there, CPO here, and it is January 2nd or 3rd, depending on where you are. 2015, this is the first Heli Hangout of the new year. So you might have noticed I postponed, canceled, whatever you want to call it, our last December show just to take a little bit of a break, get a breather. I know a lot of people have a lot going on. I, in particular, had a lot of family stuff happening, so kind of feel refreshed, taking a little bit of a break. At the same time, I'm just totally confused on what to do. It's like it's all new again, so but we'll sort it out. So anyway, this is Heli Hangout number 37, and I'm sure people will pop in a little bit once we get going. But we've got Aid, Casper, and Rifted on right now, and we'll just chat helis or whatever else comes up, which always has to do with something other than helis lately. So see what happens. I guess, Adrian, since you're on right now on my screen, tell us what you've been up to the last few weeks.
Well, not an awful lot the last couple of weeks, but obviously, I can't. When was it? Had I flown? Where was I with the T-Rex 500 in the last one? I can't remember.
You had the T-Rex 500. I don't remember if you've flown it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was kind of quite an interesting kind of couple of weeks, really, because obviously, G Pro, new flybarless gyro on the market. That sort of it replaces the 3GX, which doesn't have the best of reputations, shall we say? And so just opened the box, built it, flew it, and just to see where it got to, and out of the box it was okay, but I don't know, it didn't quite feel right, and I was having some issues with the tail, not sort of on the heavy sort of collective ups and downs. So you're going, say, for rainbows, you're going from one end of the collective to the other kind of stuff, and the tail was kicking and that sort of thing. So I replaced the tail servo with a slightly old 9257, which made quite a big difference, and then eventually swapped that out for the tail servo off the galley, which is the full size tail servo. So I did the frame mod. I mean, it once I'd done that, it was quite nice. But during that period, Angelos from Spartan released the beta firmware for the Vortex to support the electric governor, and so I was kind of itching to fly the Vortex with the electric governor stuff because I've been waiting for that for quite a while. So I ended up going, let's just try the Vortex on it, just to see how it how different it feels and how different it flies. And yeah, it's kind of back to, I couldn't quite get it to feel the way I wanted it to feel. It's how a model feels is all very, very sort of different and difficult to describe and stuff. But yeah, I mean, yeah, and the electric governor on it is awesome. But so yeah, it's sort of, I haven't sort of flown it much in the last couple of weeks, but that's kind of where I got to. But interestingly, some people say that the stock tail servo works fine with other flybarless controllers. So I kind of tempted to put the 5.2, the standard servo, back on with the Vortex, just to see what would happen. But I don't know, it flies really nice the way it is. I don't know. But no, I mean, the G Pro does seem to work. It works, it flies, doesn't seem to have any of the issues that the other stuff had. So
that's encouraging.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see. It's just there's a couple of little things with the Bluetooth, which just seem a bit bizarre, because it's got a Bluetooth dongle, so that you don't need a PC to set it up. Now, coming from the Vortex with the data pod, like not having a laptop, kind of made tuning it without the Bluetooth quite tricky, in front of my desktop. So the Bluetooth kind of means you can adjust it down the field, and in theory that's really great. I just hope they come out with a couple of little fixes with that side of things, because if you switch the screen off or come out of the app to look at a text message or something like that, it disconnects the Bluetooth, and you have to go all the way through the Bluetooth authentication stuff again. So you have to connect to the device and then put in a PIN code, and then it connects, and then you have to go back through the menus to the menu that you were on. So if you're playing around with a tail gain or a tail stop or something like that, you have to connect to it, put in the PIN code to let you connect to it, and then click on the tuning button, and then acknowledge a thing that says make sure you've done the setup again before you go into this. And it's just like, really? And then go back through the menus again. It's just like, this would be really cool if I didn't have to do all this every single time.
Nice.
So yeah, it was kind of it's cool. It works. It's definitely a massive improvement over what was there before, and and the Dominator's quite nice as well. So pays your money, takes your choice, and it does the job. That's for sure.
Oh, that's cool. Well, keep us posted. Sounds like an interesting endeavor. So let's see here. Who else? Dave Morrow popped in. How you been, Dave?
Hey guys, doing well. It's been quiet. It's been very cold here, although probably not as cold as some of you guys see, but for me it's been cold, dipping down in the 20s, and the wind has been blowing, and when the wind isn't blowing, it's raining, so not a lot of flying going on. I did find, oddly enough, a new flying club / field in the area. 25 or so years ago, I used to fly sailplanes, and there was a club here that was very active, probably 50 active members. They had a very large, very nice flying field. And when I moved back to this area, when I looked around, I really didn't see hide nor hair of them. They weren't. Their flying field was long gone, and I couldn't find any information. And the other day, just out of the blue, I was looking for something else unrelated, and up popped their name. It was the Fresno Soaring Society. And so I looked them up, and they have a new flying field, and at a park here, a county park. So I went over there last Saturday to see what was going on, because their website didn't really show much going on. But I figure if there's anything going on, it's going to be on a Saturday morning. There'll be people out flying, and there were 3 guys out there flying, and that's pretty much the bulk of the active members is 3.
Wow.
So they don't have a lot going on, but they actually have a very nice flying field. It's not bad. It's probably 20 acres of wide open grass field that's gated off, part of a park, and somehow they negotiated a deal with the county. I guess the county tried to turn that into a sport complex, and the idea was to charge people to have soccer games there or something. But the problem with that is there's plenty of other sports-related parks around here that you can go play at for free. So, typical government wisdom that didn't pan out for them. So they got this huge grass field all set up for soccer, baseball, whatever you want, and nobody came because they wanted to charge money when there's plenty of other places that are free around here. So these guys negotiated a deal where they can have it gated off, locked with a combination lock. And I was stunned that their dues are only $24 a year.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I had to ask twice. What? Because the only other club that I know of around here is $125 a year with a $150 initiation fee, I think.
Oh wow.
Yeah, which to me is, I mean, it's a gorgeous facility. I mean, it's
That's
as
a
good
lot.
as it gets, but that's a lot. And a lot of the people I've talked to around here about the nicer place, they say it's more of a social club and a group of elitists. They don't like helis. They don't like people who crash.
Well, then I can't go.
Right. So they want you to fly with somebody for I don't know how long before they feel comfortable, before they'll allow you to fly without a buddy box or something. So I just never, the cost alone is prohibitive. But when I went and talked to these guys, they were really interesting. They're primarily sailplanes, and the area is not rich in thermal activity, but they can catch some thermals. But they're flying, electric, so they'll power them up to altitude and hunt out some lift. The other thing they do, which I thought was really interesting, is because they're on opposite ends of the scales. They're doing these real floaty sailplanes, or they're doing these 3D pattern planes. So I thought that was an interesting contrast. But there's nobody there flying helis, but they are really short on members, so they said, hey, if you want to bring your helicopters, you're welcome to,
The way
fly
I
with
see
us.
it, 1/4 of the club flies helis if you join.
Right. Right.
That's a lot.
So I hung out with them on Saturday, and we had a good time. In my infinite wisdom, whenever I go check out a new flying site, for some stupid reason, I never take anything with me to fly. It's a nice, not a bad place to fly. It's flat, it's level, it's just grass. There's no pavement to it, unless you use the parking lot, maybe to fly in. But they told me my helis would be welcome, as well as my planes. And we had some good conversations. So
That's cool. You have the unique opportunity to help shape how they feel about helis in general. So
Right.
you're in a good ambassador spot for this part of the hobby with them.
Yeah, one of the guys said he tried a 450 about a year ago. He tried it for about 6 months and gave up. He said he couldn't even get it to hover. He said it just took too much work.
I've heard that so many times.
But they said pretty much anything electric that there is welcome to bring. So I don't know. And they also told me, which is cool, because I actually like to do a lot of my flying during the midweek. And they said there's nobody out there midweek. There's only like 3 or 4 guys maybe on Saturday morning. But midweek, they said I'd have the whole place to myself. So could be a good heli place to fly.
That's cool. Yeah, it's funny. I was watching a show. I can't remember what it was. Aviators. It's a Canadian. I think it's a Canadian produced show on aviation-related topics, full-scale manned aviation. They do, air show stuff. They talk about, flight safety. They talk about different airplanes. Anyway, one of the episodes I saw just over the last week, which they're available on Amazon streaming if you're interested. But they had a guy who was doing like an orientation or a discovery flight in a helicopter, and a full-scale helicopter, and that caught my attention, and I watched him, learn how to sort of fly that. And one of the things that struck me was the flight instructor that was with him mentioned, and I don't remember how many hours now, but he mentioned this which seemed to me a very high number of hours that it takes a new helicopter pilot just to be able to effectively hover the helicopter. And I thought, well, that's not much unlike our model hobby, but it just surprised me that it's just as difficult to fly a full-scale helicopter as far as that balancing act of the marble on the plate. So it actually made me feel pretty good.
Yeah, I may have saw the same thing. I watched the show quite a while back, but it was basically, I guess, a documentary on a guy starting green, never been in a helicopter, and taking, and just kind of going through the basics. And yeah, it took him forever. He'd get it up off the ground and hover it for a few 30 seconds maybe before the instructor would have to take it back. And so yeah, it was interesting.
With the
I'm sorry, Adrian.
with the small stuff, like the stuff they typically teach you to fly on, everything is manual. The tail's manual, the throttle is manual. So you've got a twist grip on like a handbrake lever on the car, parking brake. Right. That's your collective, and there's a twist grip throttle on that. And I believe, and they don't have an awful lot of power. So, for instance, if you let the head speed drop a little bit out of the green ideal window, which is only about a couple of hundred RPM wide, I think it's not much. There isn't. It might be less than that actually. Can't remember. But if you let it drop out of that, you can't just twist the throttle on to get the head speed back up again. You have to actually lose height. So you have to drop the collective to unload the engine to get the head speed back up. So they're a lot more marginal than the small stuff, than our stuff. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're harder to fly. And of course, right. you've got to balance the tail yourself as well. There's no gyro on the tail. It's all seat of your pants stuff. It's quite entertaining. Apparently,
sounds like fun to me.
Yeah, no, it sounds like awesome fun, but it's still something ridiculous, like £120, which is what, $200, $180 per hour.
Yeah,
it's just like I'd love to give it a go. There is a flight school, just up the road that flies at a local airport, which it would be cool to give it a go, but I just can't justify that amount of money even for an hour, just messing around.
Right.
But one thing I've noticed, going back a little bit, we talked about the guy that had tried the 450 and couldn't get on with it and given up. I've seen that kind of thing going on, even just recently. The trouble is that your average fixed wing flyer isn't used to spending money on stuff, or a large amount of money on stuff. So they're used to picking up a standard servo, which is like £6-7, $4, $10 or something, and that will work fine in your average 40-size trainer, no problems at all. But when you say, right, well, you need to upgrade, they go and buy something off of eBay for nothing, which is a shed to start with, and it's probably been crashed and has not been repaired, properly, so the the spindle's bent and that sort of stuff that isn't immediately obvious. So then you say, right, well, this thing that you spent, $40 on or whatever, you need to go and spend another $40 on bits to make it airworthy. And the tail servo on it's rubbish, and the gyro on it is some Hobby King special that cost them $5, and you go, right, so you need to do this, and this, and like just quadrupled their budget within 5 minutes of walking in the door.
Exactly.
So it's just but they won't spend the money in order to get something that will fly right, and it's quite a tricky subject sometimes.
It is, and that was exactly, I could, doing this as long as I have at this point, you figure this kind of stuff out, and I don't remember the brand of the helicopter he bought, but I recognized it immediately as like one of the ultra budget,
Yeah.
450s.
Yeah, like a Honeybee King 2 or something.
Right,
Yeah.
right, exactly. And that was, a lot of his complaint was, it was just fidgety, and even a hard landing cost him a ton of money. And whenever you broke something, you had to like go through it thoroughly because you don't know, what's bent, and regardless of how small it is, it can affect the flight. It was just too much for him. And I understand that. I like fidgety.
That's half the fun for some of us.
Right, exactly. So that works for me. They're definitely they taught me a few things. I've been out of sailplanes and gliders for so long. It's changed a little bit, especially some of the competitions, some of the things that are doing, but some of the things remain the same. It was interesting to find out, 25 years later, they're still going out to the same hills where I used to go slope soaring. Still some of the best around here. So, some things change, some things don't. They had never heard of FPV racing, so I explained that to them, and they couldn't believe it at first. I'm like, no, really? You put these goggles on? No. Well, there'd be too much lag. I'm like, no. They have totally separate transmitter and receiver from your radio. That was the other thing. They both had really nice. One of them had the Jetty 16 channel, which I got to play with a little bit. Really, first time I had one in my hands. I really liked that thing. But it fit my hand fairly well. Aside from it looking kind of boxy, but I was surprised how heavy it is. It is a lot heavier than my DX8. I'm kind of curious what is in there that's so heavy. But talk about programmable and customizable. That thing was nice.
Oh, one of those. Okay. Yeah, they do look pretty, don't they?
Yeah. So, I don't know, I may head out there tomorrow. I picked up a new foamy yesterday. I broke down and I don't know why. It was in the hobby store and I had money in my wallet. It's a bad place to be.
Yeah, that's an unhealthy combination.
Yeah. So I picked up the Park Zone Sport Cub. Since the only other plane I have is my scratch-built foamy. So
that's what's behind you there on the table?
Yeah. I still have some work to do on it. It comes with EC3 connectors for the ESC, and I'm going to use my 2200 3S batteries in it, which are all XT60s, and I'm all out of XT60 connectors to convert the ESC, so I got to go get one. It drives me nuts. But I got to go buy one. Part that's holding me from finishing it up.
Don't you have a burned ESC that you can retrieve it from?
No. I thought about it. I thought about tearing apart something else, but I thought no, because then I want to fly that, and then I'll still be short. So it's
just about everything that I've ever stolen parts off of for another build has never recovered from it. They're all in pieces now.
Yeah, and I always buy, in bulk. I always if I buy connectors, I'll buy 10 or something. So I was really surprised that I had none. I don't know where they all went. But I probably gave them away to people. Other than that, it's been quiet around here. I've not touched my helis in the last couple of weeks.
Something tells me you're not the only one.
Yeah.
So cool. Let's see who's next on my list. Casper, what have you been up to?
Now, first of all, let me ask Dave, are you running the Spectrum with the AS3X in that?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Yeah, I bought the bind and fly.
Yeah, funny you should mention that. I picked one off the web and it should get here Monday.
Oh, cool.
And I've had to order the receiver separately because he had the PNP version. And then I ordered an upgraded ESC to a 30 so I could run a little bigger prop on it. So
Yeah.
that's what I've got planned.
Yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. Yeah, you're. I don't know if you know this or not, but the receiver that comes in the bind and fly is not the full AS3X receiver that you can buy for $100. It's slightly crippled in that it doesn't have a satellite port on it, and it does not have telemetry port on it. Other than that, it's just like the $99 one that you can buy direct from Horizon eFlight. So
I know they have a 635 and a 636 receivers, so might be one of those. I don't know which.
Yeah, the one that comes in it is actually a 636-A, and although Horizon says the -A simply means aircraft, they said they have a -H for heli and a -A for aircraft, but a lot of people at first were throwing a fit because it wasn't the full-blown 636 that you can buy for $99. Although, to me, having minus the satellite receiver, I don't know if that's a big deal for me because it's a full range receiver by itself. It has a nice long antenna that you can hang off the back. It actually has two antennas, so you can get different polarity.
Yeah.
So the only really thing that would have been nice, maybe, I don't know that I would have used it as a telemetry. But even then, I don't know. It's interesting that it does have some basic telemetry in it, which is nice. As soon as you bind the receiver, if you have like a DX8, DX9, you will get some telemetry. You'll get, like it'll tell you your receiver strength and if you're getting dropouts or losing packets. The other thing it'll give you is your receiver voltage. And I'm not sure why they gave you receiver voltage versus pack voltage, because I don't know that that does anything for you, because the receiver itself has a 5-volt regulator in it. So it's going to sit there right at 4.95 volts anyway until you're out of power. And once your pack is gone, then you'll notice it drop, but by then it's too late.
Yeah, but that's easy to get. Receiver voltage is a piece of cake.
Right.
I've just been looking at the pictures of going back a couple of minutes, about the internals of that jetty you're on about. I know why it weighs so much. It's a full aluminium body.
Or aluminum for the rest of us.
Spell it phonetically, it's fine. Aluminium. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. And if you look at the thickness of the case, it is proper mechanics. And it's got a 3.2 amp hour, 3,200 milliamp hour battery in it.
Yeah, that's good.
Jeez.
Admittedly, it's only a single cell, but still, it's.
Yeah, even the gimbals look like they're all metal.
Oh yeah, and they're big ass full races in them as well by the looks of it. None of this bushing, big metal levers, big springs, just proper mechanics. And you can adjust. Looks like you can adjust the axis of. You can rotate the axis of the gimbals as well, so you can rotate them clockwise or anti-clockwise a little bit. So if you tend to, when you're pushing the stick back and forwards, if you tend to go sort of to the right, say for instance, when you push forward on the elevator, and to the left when you pull back on the elevator, you can adjust the angle of dangle a little bit.
Yeah.
Quite a lot actually, but it's about 45 degrees if you wanted to. But yeah, no, that's a nice bit of kit. That.
Yeah.
Yeah. No doubt they're nice. That's for sure.
And probably a lot of money as well, I'm guessing.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Very, very high.
Well, after the last hangout, I found a small window where I could take the helis out. I got about 1.5 flights on the 450 before it went in. My suspicion is I threw one of the weights on the flybar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was loose when I picked it up, so I don't know if it was pre or post dive in. And got one flight in on the 500, so I was working on it today, working on the 450 today, and it's pretty much ready. I got to adjust the blade angle, and it should be set to go again.
Cool.
And then I got tempted and went over to the dark side and purchased an Emax 250 Pro 250 quad kit. It's in a box shape right now, so that's as far as the construction's gone. What I'm thinking about that is I've looked at it and I'm not sure yet how I'm going to proceed FPV wise and how long or how strong I'll be into the quad. So I'm tempted just to build it simply as a quad for initially, but I don't want to have to duplicate my build so much that if I decide to go FPV later on that, you know, I have to take everything all apart and scrap it and start over again. So I got to kind of be careful in my design and how I lay this out so that if I want to add FPV later, I can do it without too much insurmountable effort. So that's what I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's a good idea to leave yourself some room for cameras and transmitter and things like that.
Yeah.
So of course your balance will be you make sure you've got room to balance it with your battery or whatever in the meantime. That'll change everything.
Right.
But yeah, I think once you put a camera on one, that'll be it. You'll be done. So I couldn't even imagine flying my 250 without a camera. It just wouldn't be as much fun anymore.
Yeah.
Oh. Well, welcome to the dark side.
Yeah.
Talking of FPV, there was something that happened in the UK about a week ago. A policeman, there was a certified professional, which we can have over here, certified professional flying a small-ish, DJI or whatever, near a campsite. He had permission to fly there from the landowner, and he was taking video of a fire because one of the camper vans was on fire. So he works for BBC and all sorts of stuff. And a couple of policemen turned up, took the transmitter off him, and then attempted to land it, apparently, and arrested him.
What?
What? I posted it on my personal earlier on. It was just like, what? Sorry? And that's the wording they used. They took the transmitter off of him whilst he was flying it, and attempted, in quotes, attempted to land it.
That means it didn't go so well.
Yeah, hang on. Let me find the original news article.
Wow. That's crazy.
Sure, they wanted to test it out, and they didn't want to ask nicely, so that might be the issue there.
It's just incredible. And admittedly, the trouble is there's two sides to this story, because first of all, there's the actual act of of taking the control away from a certified pilot who's got permission to fly there without actually asking the question first. And secondly, there's a thing that he was taking, the imagery of was a fire, for a news story. So what's the difference between that and standing at the side of the road? You could understand maybe that the police wanted to stop him from taking the video, taking the pictures for his news story. Yeah, because they could, you could cordon off an area and nobody could get in. But then, if they wanted to, they could go and rent a police helicopter and not police, a full-size helicopter and go and take the video from the full-size helicopter. So, what's the difference?
Wow.
Yeah, sorry for the sidetrack. You just reminded me.
That's all right. I'm looking at this picture from the article. That's great. Is that live photo or genuine photo of the event? You think?
Mm-hmm.
Looks like it.
Yeah. As far as I'm aware, we're not allowed they're not allowed to construct pictures in the UK for that sort of stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's got to be, and if it's just an unrelated, if it's a picture not of the event, they have to say so. So even if it's of the same, even if it's of the person, they have to say, Kate Blanchett or something gets photographed somewhere, but they don't actually have the photograph. They can show a picture of Kate Blanchett and say like when she was at this event somewhere else. It's the same.
Not around here. They'll use the same stock photo over and over and over again in every article.
Yeah.
Right, that's lazy reporting, isn't it?
Yeah. So anyway, that's interesting. That's one of the strangest things I've heard in a while.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah,
What else? What else, Casper?
That's about it for me. Got lots to build and not enough time.
Yeah, I know that feeling. All right, then. Let's hit Rifted. What have you been up to?
Well, first of all, Happy New Year to all of you.
Yeah, likewise, man.
Yeah, and well, I went a little bit crazy last week, so I'm expecting for a big quad to arrive. I have a couple of 15 inches props that were left alone for a couple of months, and placed an order and expecting low kV motors and big batteries, 6S I'm gonna be running. And I purchased the engines from TBS, from Team Black Sheep. Really, really fast shipping. It was 2-day shipping. I was expecting them to arrive on Monday. And Trappy sent out an email the day before yesterday, and they're already here in customs. So sadly, I'm gonna have to pay for the imports, but it was not a big deal. Well, it seems to be not a big deal. What else? On Christmas, I went to a place called San Miguel de Allende, and I was expecting to fly there. I have a couple of flights. Sadly, they have a dam next to the house of my wife's relatives, and it was pretty high, so I was not able to fly there. And to find a new spot to fly, I really didn't want to try my luck. People who loves stuff that are not theirs, So yeah, I was not able. So I'm planning tomorrow to go to the field with a friend of mine who's a neighbor. I have a couple flights and be back before midday. So yeah. What else has happened? Still thinking about that heli. Haven't decided which one yet. But I'll eventually gonna purchase something and fly again. Big helis, probably. Not small ones, but probably mid-size. I'm not going in for a 600 yet. What else I've been doing? I finished also my 250. Flies really, really good with the NACE 32. Way better than the NASA. still a little bit of a tweaking here, tweaking there with the PIDs. I want to try, I'm not sure if you already tried it, the auto tune for the NACE 32. But
I haven't tried that yet.
you haven't, okay. I want to try it, but I really want to go out and try it in a big field in case there's any sort of back behavior from the NACE 32 to be prepared not to hit anybody or any cars or anything else. What else? Yeah, I think that should be on under my end. Yeah, pretty much. Oh no, actually, I did order the retracts for my Tarot 650 from Telemetry RC, not the one in the US, the one in China, I think. But the original foldable automatic retracts for the 650. So as soon as they arrive, I'm going to be placing a couple pictures under Google Plus about that one. And yeah, well, for my big quad, I'm expecting to fly about 20 minutes with those 6 cells batteries. I was not able to purchase 5,000 milliamp batteries because it seems that nobody can carry them down here. So it's a little bit of a shame.
Really?
Yeah. So I went with a 45,000 milliamp battery, which I was able to send me through Hobby King, which surprised me. I had never had a problem, but probably because it's a 6S 5,000 milliamp. And I sent them an email, and they reply back. Well, sadly, it's because of the carriers. They cannot ship that bigger batteries. So if anybody knows anybody that can ship international 6S battery 5,000, that will be much appreciated. What else? Nope. I think that probably much covers it. So I think my next hangout, I'm gonna be able to show you all the big quad O-ring finish and probably test it out.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Out of interest, why a big quad with big props, not a hex with slightly smaller props?
My answer would be very simple. I really like the size of the 4 props instead of the 6 props. The frame that I went for is the H4, which is pretty much compact size. My 650, it's quite a large one, which is not a 6 rotors, but it's a 4 rotor. And I wanted to try big, longer flight times, and I followed a little bit of Team Black Sheep's setup. So I would probably hit about 20 minutes, 25 minutes pushing the limits, and 20 safe minutes with the gimbal with FPV and yeah, and well, everything else. Have you tried any other stuff that gives you?
I've flown a flame wheel, because my understanding of the 6 rotor stuff, the 6 motor stuff, is that if you lose a motor,
oh yeah, you're screwed.
No, you're not screwed. With the 6 rotor stuff, it will fly.
Oh yeah. With 6 rotors, you're probably going to be able to land. For on a 4, you're pretty much screwed. If one fails, you're out.
Yeah, so you are done.
Yeah, probably is going to be my next build, but right now, they were a little bit expensive. The engines for Team Black Sheep. It was with the ESCs that they sell. It was 400 and something bucks, 415 I think, with the shipping included, and Yeah, I didn't have that money for 2 extra motors.
Yeah, because I mean, I suppose a 6-rotor would use smaller, the same power output. It would use smaller motors, so you probably save a bit there, but to make up for the extra 2, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. Yeah, my setup with a 650, it's a 12-inch props and 2 4S batteries. I hit about a total of 10,000 milliamp. I hit about 18 minutes with everything on it, the FPV, the gimbal, the GoPro. So I don't feel it's so efficient. Probably if I would go with a different setup or adding 2 extra rotors, it's going to have less consume milliamps, but I'm not sure. I haven't tried it. I'll let you know if these little babies give me more.
They're like half big, aren't they?
What was that?
They're big, aren't they? They're huge.
Yeah, they're. Let me show you. Let me find my little 250. One second, guys. Here's the 250. Here's the prop.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah, it's basically, well, a little bit more larger than the 250. So yeah, my little 250.
Nice. Cool, man. All right, let's see. It's my turn, I guess. I'll start off by saying I haven't flown any helis in. It's got to have been a month by now. I have not even been to a flying field, a legit flying field, in over a month. So I was actually hoping to try and get out there this week, but it's just not happening. So. And now the end of the year, my membership's expired. I got to renew my membership.
Hang on, you have flown a helicopter? In the last couple of weeks.
In what regard? Am I missing something?
Your what was it called? The ball thing.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I guess you can count that. That's a coaxial helicopter. You're right. The alien space sphere, or whatever that thing was.
You sounded a little bit pissed off with that review.
Oh, it was just fun. I don't know why I did that. I don't know why. I saw that and I thought this deserves a review.
Hey, it really came in handy because one of my kids' friends got one for Christmas, so I pointed him towards your review and they watched it.
It was actually kind of fun to fly, but I did the reboxing part of the video, and it's still in the box. I haven't pulled it back out again, so. But it's fun. It's just, I don't know why. I thought this is silly enough. It deserves a review. So, I'm sorry, Aid. I wasted 30 minutes of your life on that one.
Oh, I didn't watch all of it.
Good.
It was almost as good as the watch. That was
the watch
hilarious.
Yeah, this was kind of a random month for videos. I'll have another watch video. You can safely ignore that if you're not into watches. I also have a cutback video. My 1/10 scale RC car that I'm editing right now. It's in the editing room, which is actually right where I'm sitting. It's on the computer, but trying to get a video out on that, just kind of showing it off. That's a really cool car. I really like it, but unfortunately, I don't have a proper place to bash it around, so it's just front yard, action. Yeah, so I had the alien sphere. The cutback, I got a couple of planes that I haven't really flown yet. The new Enum from Fly Zone. It's like a ultra micro little indoor flyer that basically is just rudder control, and that's it, rudder and throttle. But I think that'll be fun. I'm going to take it out to the gym and play around with that. I've got a group of kids who don't know anything about RC that I think that'll be fun to play with. Get them excited about RC. So you almost can't hurt it.
Is that one of the really, really, really small ones with the voice coil controls and stuff, or is it still servos?
Yeah, it does. It's got. Is that what it's called? The voice coil. It's got a little. It looks like a round brass thing. Let me see here. Oh, here we go. Screen share. It's this guy right here.
Okay. Yeah.
But it does have the rudder control servo. It looks like a little. I don't know. It's a basic. Well, from what I can gather, it's a magnet and a coil, and the magnet is either on the fin or the control surface, and the coil is on the other one, and it just literally, just puts power through it, and it pulls the servo, the control surface one way or the other. So it's got kind of current proportional. Quite cool. Yeah, it's really interesting. I played with it a little bit. I fired it up, and I was like, "Is this because I'm used to even the micros that I have, micro helis and stuff. They have, regular. So whether they're linear servos or not, they have some sort of a servo thing, and this one kind of threw me off. But it works. Controls the airplane, and it's got the smallest battery I've ever seen in my life. But the thing's super lightweight, and like I said, I mostly got it to get other people experience in flying. And with the weather the way it's been, I think it's a perfect little gym flyer. So, and it's got two moving parts: the rudder and the motor. That's it. Everything else is stationary, so should be pretty easy. It's actually, things like that are a challenge for me because it's not traditional, like 3-channel or 4-channel flight. So I find those more of a challenge to me. So anyway, so I got that. I have not yet done anything with it, but I do have the new Tactic TTX 850 to play with, which is their 8-channel transmitter, which I think seems to be a step up from the other Tactics that I have. I've got a 650 and I've got a 400 or a 450. I can't remember which. But this one's, besides the more channels, has is back to a rechargeable battery, which is nice because all the other Tactics just use AA's, and I really hate that because I always feel like I'm going to end up with dead batteries because I'm not paying attention. And it's got a multi-rotor mode. It's even got in the multi-rotor menu section, it's got a place for camera gimbal control built into the transmitter. So I'll play with that a little bit and check it out. But also has the wireless buddy boxing capability, which the wireless training I think is pretty awesome. I have a hard time going back to wired training after doing wireless with my son on the Tactic stuff. So looking forward to that. Let's see, what else have I done? My 250 quad is still flying. I've been using the Fat Shark goggles, getting familiar with them. That's getting better. You probably have seen my epic crash, which was 11 or 12 rolls, depending on who you ask. But the thing came out literally without a scratch. I just picked it up, threw it back in the air, and flew it. I feel good now that I had my FPV camera protected inside the body, because I don't know if it would have survived without getting knocked around a little bit. But yeah, I didn't even break a prop on that. It surprised the heck out of me. But those props I'm running right now are the little plastic super flexible ones. So I don't know if carbon fiber would have broken or not, but it was pretty awesome. Let's see.
Yeah, no, that was pretty cool. I like that. But how are you getting on in general with the FPV 250? You know, are you enjoying it? Are you playing around sort of in more kind of in close confined spaces and flying between trees and stuff? Is it inspiring confidence, or are you still getting
I'm not there yet. I'm not to the flying around obstacles stage yet, because I still am not confident I have a full command of elevation, and I'm still getting used to the field of view and how close things really are or not. So I've been trying to fly in some bigger spaces. There's a field next to my house that's fairly large that I've been kind of flying in, which gives me a little bit more room. And then I've been flying in my front yard and then around the back of the house and, all around that area. So I'm happy to report that goggles do not make me seasick. That was one of the things I was worried about is, you hear horror stories of people spending $300-400 on goggles, and then the first time they fly, they realize they get motion sick and can't do it. So I'm happy to report that I have no problems with that. So I have had zero desire to fly with a monitor since I started using the goggles. Altitude control, I'm still working on, which is the result was that crash, which is I'm trying to fly low to the ground, because it's easy for me to gain elevation just naturally as I'm flying. Obviously, because it's a fixed pitch system, more throttle gives you more thrust, which also gives you more elevation unless you've got the right attitude to keep it down. So trying to find that healthy balance between giving it as much thrust as I can give it to get it going fast in forward flight, but still keeping the elevation low by adjusting the attitude. And it's a learning experience. I'm trying to, line of sight, I can see it. I can tell if it's losing altitude or gaining altitude, and I can adjust subconsciously. But when I'm in the copter, when I'm in FPV, it's harder for me at this point to gauge that, because the only thing I have to go off of, without an OSD, of course, on this one, the only thing I have to go off of is the horizon and how the ground looks and how much detail is in the ground. Can I see the grass, individual blades or not? Try and gauge how close I am. And I'm getting better, but it's taken some practice. But I don't feel comfortable yet navigating obstacles, just because I feel like I have some work to do there. I will say when I stop and go into a hover, it's harder for me to get a sense of whether or not I'm actually staying in a straight hover or rotating, moving backwards slightly. I know it sounds kind of weird, but I'm not even yet confident that I can actually just stay exactly still in FPV. It's harder to gauge those directions, and because I can't feel the motion, and my perspective is such that it's not as clear to see whether or not I'm moving or not. So,
which mode are you flying in? Are you flying in stealth level or?
I have been flying in. I think it's horizon mode is what they call it on the NAS 32, where I have the ability to go basically full acro if I push the sticks hard. But if I choose to keep the sticks, more centered, it will self level. I tried a little bit to do it in just rate acro mode, and I didn't feel like I didn't feel like I have a good sense of control yet. Even line of sight, it was a little bit tougher for me. So yeah, I guess I'm cheating, but I just felt more confident flying it in horizon mode.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I think the full acro, as in fly it like a helicopter mode, gives you more control, but obviously less oh shit kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You've got that kind of, you let go of everything and it will self-level, in the other modes. But I think it's, from what I've read and what I've experienced myself, if it's something you probably want to be pushing towards.
Yeah, I definitely think that's where I want to end up once I get a feel. But right now, you're exactly right. When I get to the point where I feel like I'm going too fast or too high or maybe even too low, I can kind of ease off of it a little bit and just know it's gonna self-level, and I can get my bearing a little bit, as opposed to having to also fly the machine and get my bearings at the same time.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, I've only flown a NASA in it was on a camera ship, so it was all self-level GPS, the lot. So literally, I mean, the throttle was sprung to the middle, for instance, so it didn't have a lot of the issues that you're dealing with there. But I can certainly, from that experience, sort of go, yeah, I can see where full manual would be quite tricky to start with. But it's as I say, I haven't had a chance to try it yet. But I can certainly see that you could have it could be quite an interesting learning curve.
Right. It's interesting because I think that flying, it's starting to come together that flying FPV in a fixed wing aircraft, to me, seems quite a bit easier than flying a multi-rotor in FPV, because the fixed wing, you have a lot of predictability in flight. There's a glide slope, there's a direction of travel, and if I kill the throttle, I still know I'm going in the same direction on an airplane, whether or not I'm losing altitude or gaining altitude, or rolling left or right, or whatever, or pitching attitude a little bit. But with a multi-rotor, like I said before, if I number one, killing the throttle, not killing it, but reducing the throttle, it drops like a rock, right? So I have to try and figure out. I'm still trying to learn how much throttle to cut without cutting too much, because once I start losing, let's say I'm getting high, and I decide I want to cut back on the throttle a little bit to drop in elevation to get back down lower again, I'm still trying to find that sweet spot, because if I drop it too much, I lose thrust, and it takes a lot of thrust to recover. It's full throttle and a bunch of meters of free fall before it actually catches itself and then recovers. Whereas, like I said, on a plane, you kill the throttle, you give it throttle again, you're right back where you were, and you just keep going. So, and in a plane, if I find myself in a situation where I center all the sticks, I'm still going in the direction I was going. Whereas on the multi-rotor, I center all the sticks, I might actually start going backwards, depending on how the balance is at that particular minute, and all that stuff. So it's been quite an experience, but it's a lot of fun, and I have no regrets playing with it. So I'm trying to work on the basics so that I can get more confidence built up, and then I've got trees around here. I'm like, I can make that an obstacle course whenever I'm ready, but I'm just not ready yet. I may try a little bit bigger. I'd like to find a bigger course with a larger separation between obstacles that I can start getting familiar with, but I haven't really gone anywhere other than my front yard with it. So,
have you kind of one of the things I kind of played with was was just pulling the goggles up and down a little bit just to get a feel for, well, I know, I can see this tree in front of me. How close to it am I actually? If I'm looking at it normally, how I normally fly.
Yeah. So I've been doing that. I haven't done it recently, but that's what I was doing with the monitor. That's where the video monitor comes in handy on the tripod as opposed to the goggles, because then I can glance up and see, and that's what I was doing when I first started is not so much with obstacles, but just how far am I away from the ground? I think I'm 5 feet up, and then I look up at the aircraft and I'm 10 feet up, and I'm like, okay, I've got more room to grow or to go down. And then I started trying to pay attention to the cues. But yeah, I think if I did that, I wouldn't do it with the goggles, because it's awkward putting them on and getting them just adjusted right so that they're comfortable and you can see fine. That if I kind of tried to play this up and down motion, I would probably lose it altogether and just be done with it. So
yeah, I mean, when I was doing it, obviously I had a fully stable camera rig playing with that, so it was kind of a little bit different,
Yeah, with these little 250s, a half a second to move your goggles is a lot of problem, because you gotta take your hand off the stick to do it.
Yeah. What about something I was thinking, because I flew another quad, just line of sight, and found the collective to be, or the throttles to be quite sensitive. But you come down under half stick, and it was pretty much useless below half stick, because it just wasn't producing enough thrust to do anything useful with. And if you tried to come down vertically with less than half stick, it would do all sorts of horrible, nasty things. You could hear it not being very happy. Have you thought about putting a bit of a throttle curve in, so you make that quarter point, so you still have your full back stick at full back? How do you start it up? Is it just full back stick is engine off, or is there some weird sort of sticks in the corners thing to get it going?
Well, there's a arming and a disarming process. So on this one, it's all switch based. So I just have a switch, almost like a throttle hold, that puts it into arming or disarm mode, and then the throttle stick is literally just the throttle. So if I cut the throttle all the way stick back, then I basically kill my motors, and that's it.
Okay.
But to where you're going, I have thought about that, and it is really sensitive, and that's I think that's kind of where I was going earlier. Is it's super sensitive if you're at speed, that just a little bit of throttle will send you heading towards the sky. But if you chop it, and you chop it just a bit too much, it's the opposite problem. It's no longer sensitive. It's mushy, or.
I mean, I had that problem with the Invertix on 3S. It kind of, once you started getting it travelling down through, vertically on the Z-axis, it was very difficult to get it to stop, because it had to reverse all the airflow and get it all going back in the right direction. And so I can try. It was definitely better with some forward speed on. So rather than, if you want to come down, rather than cutting the throttle and coming down vertically, if you drop the nose to get it to come down. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
so
it
it's more
does.
like a plane in that respect.
Yeah, it does make sense. It's just it's harder to ignore the panic response of, oh, I'm too high, kill the throttle to come back down. And it's just like I said, So I thought about I don't know if expo is the right thing that I want to do, or a throttle curve, but I thought about trying to play with the feel of the throttle a little bit, but I haven't done it yet. I haven't had time to do any research as to what other people are doing. But what are you doing, Rifted?
No, one of the things I was going to mention is that on the NACE 32, you have the option while you're flying, obviously, to change the modes. But as you were saying, as you go right now, Horizon might be one of the best approaches you can go if you're getting used to fly FPV plus your goggles. And there's another function which I don't remember right now for the NACE 32, which is instead of Horizon, it's going to only level up, but it's still going to drift sideways. So it's going to help you or assist you in this case. So as you go, you can learn what the functions it has, and it's been really, really good flight control. Even though it's not the full, well, mine is the full 9 yards, but the simple one also helps you quite a lot. And
oh yeah, I don't doubt that all of my problems are me just learning, getting familiar with the unit itself. But the other mode that you're talking about is what the hell is that called? I haven't programmed in. I've been flying with both Horizon and angle. They call it angle mode.
yeah, exactly. And angle mode is gonna stay level in case you need it. So it's basically gonna, as you go and learn how the little mini quad flies, it's gonna help you a lot. The NACE 32. For a quick example, my bigger quad, not the 650, but the other one, I also fly it with a NASA Lite. But whenever I'm ready to fly, I don't use the GPS. I just use the level, and that's it. I don't fight so much the controls to control the quad, as a lot of people mention. If you go in stable or Horizon or whatever it's the mode into the acro mode or full control, yeah, if you haven't set it up properly, yeah, you're probably going to lose immediately control of your quad. And if you're not used to how responsive the throttle and your ailerons on elevator is, yeah, you're just gonna lose it in a couple seconds. It goes ballistic in other modes.
Interesting. Yeah, when I fly line of sight, by the way, the thing is a little rocket, flies great, does everything I want it to do. I can definitely tell the difference between angle mode and Horizon. And you're right, I think angle mode is the one that limits you to a certain degree of tilt, whereas Horizon gives you full acro capability, but when you let go of the sticks or bring them back to center, it goes into self-level. So that's a good mix, but it flies really well line of sight. It's just me getting used to what I'm seeing and trying to translate that into what I should be doing to respond.
Exactly, and that's the whole trick with these little guys, and getting used to it. It's just a learning curve. It's part of flying FPV and little quads. It's not the same as flying, as you were mentioning, flying any given airplane. When FPV, yeah, you know your inertia is always going to be forward, unless you're flying 3D, which is not even. I wouldn't say it's even possible, because you're not able to look 360 and check your surroundings. But on these little quads, yeah, it's a part of the learning curve, and as you fly, as you do stuff, you're going to be able to manage any other given modes that the board gives you.
Yeah. Well, it's been a fun learning experience, and definitely have more to go. I still have another video, by the way, to put out on that. Now that I've got everything set up, I've been posting some pictures on Facebook of the current setup, which I think is my final setup, including using a guitar pick to mount my video transmitter antenna. So that's working out really well.
You have it.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
I would say the guitar pick may be one of the reasons why the antenna stayed on just fine during that 12 rolls. Is I think it was just flexible enough that it allowed everything to kind of give a little bit.
Yeah, it might have been that. You set it up on your Tyrannus, right?
Yes.
Did you connect the battery telemetry?
Yes, I'm running battery telemetry. I got a DR4, D4R, whichever
Alright.
one it is.
Yeah.
2, and then I'm using the NAS 32 to transmit the telemetry back to the receiver.
Yeah, it's a really cool option. That little combo, it's really, really cool. It works very great. What else was happening? I purchased also a couple of the cables for the receivers, for the Tyrannus and the receivers. If they have a little bit of a better, no, in order for you to check the battery, telemetry wise, that's what I was going to check your battery voltage. I'll let you know if they work, because it's a little like a little connector. It's a little dongle that you plug into one of the receivers auxiliaries, and it seems to work fine. So that's really cool. It's not that complicated as other telemetries that you need to build the hub and put all your testers. So yeah, so far so good.
Yeah, well, that's pretty much how this one was. You know, the D4R2 has a little side port for telemetry and came with two cables to use with that. So I literally just took 2 of those wires and stuck them to the board. And the other thing I did, so I've got my. Unfortunately, it's only total cell or total of battery voltage, not individual cell voltage. So, you know, there is a potential I could have a cell go bad and you know, not catch it. But the reality of it is, if that happens, my total voltage is going to drop anyway.
Just don't push it more than 5 minutes, and you're pretty much okay.
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting basically is about 5, maybe 5.5 minutes out of a 3S. I think what I'm running maybe 1300 milliamps.
Yeah, I've been flying with 1500, but I think it's a little bit heavier, on the heavier side of the little quad. Looking forward to purchase a couple of 1300s also.
Yeah. And the other thing I did is I programmed in the I call it recovery mode, where I hooked up the speaker to the NAS 32 and then have my transmitter set to send a. Yep, that's the one. To set off the beeper so I can find it. And it actually came in handy. At one point, I was doing some elevation training, we'll call it, and I was flying in the field next to me, but I wasn't visually line of sight. It was, you know, it was a ways away, and I ended up going down in the field, and you know, once I walk around the house and jump the fence and go over there to the field and try and figure out what it was, I'm like, flip on the beeper. And then it just immediately, I knew exactly where it was and went and grabbed it and threw it back up in the air and kept flying. But that's worked out really well.
Yeah. Quick question. The field next to you, you're able to fly over it without any problems? Nobody teasing you that you cannot fly there?
Yeah, it's not privately owned property. It's publicly owned, but it's some sort of a drainage area that's dedicated for drainage. So actually, oddly enough, part of my property goes into that area. I have to jump the fence, and I'm still on my property for a little ways, but it just goes into this field where nobody lives there and nobody owns it. It's just blocked off for drainage.
Because I was thinking you can build a couple of good. It is a quite large field. On one of your tests of the 5.8 all over, it was pretty cool field. I wish I would have one nearby, so clear. But you could buy a couple of poodle needles, the pool things,
Pool noodles.
the pool noodles, and put them all over the place. Try to fly there, and you're gonna have a blast. Come
Oh
on.
yeah, that would be fun. And the risk of hitting those is minimal damage, so that's a good idea.
Exactly, and easier to spot because of the colors.
Yeah, I could definitely do something like that. There would be nobody that would care if I did something in that field over there. So,
Or
yeah, it's cool. Let's see. The only other thing that's cool that is probably worth talking about that I haven't done anything with because of time, but it's going to start hitting my priority list here pretty soon. And I mentioned a while back that I got an opportunity to check out the Spirit system flybarless controller, and I finally have that. It got hung up in customs for I don't know how long, but I've got it. So I'm really interested in putting that on a heli. I was hoping to get a new heli for my son to build, and I was thinking about either like a JR 450 or a Chase 360 or something, but that hasn't come to be. His birthday's come and gone, Christmas has come and gone, so I think I'm just going to put this Spirit system on maybe my 500 and do some testing with it, but it's cool because it's got basically the Bavarian Demon system. I don't know exactly. I don't know if any of you guys know. I haven't looked at it in a while, but I don't know if it's exactly same hardware or firmware, but it's definitely a less expensive version, but licensed of some sort. I don't even know if the companies have anything to do with one another of their bailout feature and all that. So I'm kind of excited to try that, particularly with the ability to have an inverted bailout, which would be nice. So I could really have some fun with that, and looking at getting my son playing with that a little bit for flight training.
that's a recovery system, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because flight test reviewed the Vector with the OSZ and all that things, but I'm not sure if the Vector does apply for helicopters. I think they only fly multi-rotors and airplanes, I think.
Yeah,
Pretty
that's
cool
correct.
combo.
What was that, Dave?
Yeah, that's correct. The Vector does only multi-rotor and planes, but it has a really cool OSD in it. The OSD that it has built into it is supposed to replicate like an F-16 cockpit heads-up display.
Oh, that's cool.
So it's one of the nicer OSDs from what I've read.
That's one of the things I haven't yet experienced is an OSD. And the 250 Racer Quad is not necessarily the place to do that, but eventually I want to re-equip an FPV fixed wing aircraft. Either get a new one, something intentionally designed for that, like a Penguin or EPP FPV or something like that, and put an OSD on it and go do some longer range stuff. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So
Plus, you can mount the Vector on it, and if you lose FPV, you can set it back to home, and it's not that expensive. It's about $250 240 bucks, and it already includes the hood. So you're gonna know your battery consumption, battery life, battery drainage, RSI. It have a lot of information. So it probably would be, if you're gonna go eventually to an FPV model, airplane wise, you can try it out.
Yeah, it's one of the better OSD systems that I've seen out there.
Yeah, and OSDs themselves are pretty expensive. I mean, you're talking, $100 to a couple $100 for one, for a good one. I looked at Minuin. I think it's Minuin or Minim OSD at one point, which is, I don't know if that's a Hobby King thing or not, but it's kind of a cheap add-on for Pixhawk. That I've got my Pixhawk on my hexacopter that I thought about putting an OSD on it. I actually thought about taking the Pixhawk off my hexacopter and putting it on my Bixler 2, and then flying it GPS waypointed FPV in an airplane. That would be pretty cool.
Yeah, you could try that also.
But
and yeah, Hobby King does sell that mini OSD to bundle with a Pixhawk. They did carry it.
Okay. Has anybody bought anything from them lately with the East Coast warehouse?
Yeah.
I have not. I heard I don't know how soon it's happening, but I know it's happening real soon. They're moving the West Coast warehouse from Washington to somewhere in Oregon.
Oh, okay. It's actually kind of weird. I haven't bought anything from Hobby King, and I don't know how long. When I first started, that was the first place I went to buy things. That's where I started my search, and now I've been fairly fortunate in finding finally a bunch of other local retailers who sell stuff that I would normally buy from Hobby King that I can get from these guys at a reasonable price. Like, I don't know, Buddy RC and those guys that I finally was able to run across, and Ready Made RCs had a lot of stuff that I've been looking for. So it's actually been kind of nice to not feel like I was dependent upon Hobby King, because for a while it felt like if I wanted anything, that's where I had to go to get it.
Right.
It seems that it took a little bit of an extra time for a lot of U.S. dealers to match the prices that they had, but that's a really good thing. That right now, I've checked a lot of dealers in the U.S. besides Ready Made RC, and they have pretty good prices. I wish I wouldn't have to pay imports from the U.S., but yeah, I would definitely buy from them.
Yeah, batteries is my next thing. I need to buy some batteries, and I think I'm gonna start looking. Like I said, used to be, I'll hit the Turnigy's as my number one choice because they're cheap and all that. But I'm gonna start looking around to seeing if I can find a better source. So then I could be clean from Hobby King for 6 months or so.
Can't do that. I can't. I really can't.
You might look at.
I pay 3 times here. I would pay 3 times the price of a single battery. For example, the batteries, the 6S that I purchased from them, I would pay 3 times the price in about the same shipping time if they are not local. So it really sucks, that kind of things. But yeah, I have to lean on them.
Yeah.
James?
You might take a look at the Glacier line at Buddy RC if you look for batteries.
Yeah, I heard that's a really good line, and their prices aren't bad. So yeah, that's on my list whenever I'm ready to buy batteries for sure.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I need to replace some batteries. I have some 3S batteries that I bought from Hobby King almost 3 years ago, and I had one that recently it finally took forever to charge, and I checked the internal resistance was pretty high compared to the others. So yeah, after almost 3 years, maybe they're finally starting to go, and I've used those a lot.
Yeah, I've abused many batteries, and I've only probably tossed one or two of them since I started. My very original 450 batteries that I started in the hobby with, I still have those too. So, and I abuse the heck out of my 3S 2200s. Those things, half my aircraft can fly those, so they're seeing way too much action.
The problem with mine is they're really puffed. So, kind of the example of Bixler's batteries. If you ever seen how puffed they are, they're exactly the same as mine. The problem was that I put them on a very high requirement C discharge rating quadcopter that I had, and they really puffed it. Yeah. Well, I need to replace those. But they're really cheap, so I don't care.
It makes it easy.
$50 for 4 plus shipping. It was $60 total, and 4 of them. Nah, just crazy.
Yeah.
I've got the OptiPowers that I was running in the X5 are being used in the 500, and in the X5 with the X-Nova motor, if I pushed it hard for the flight, it would be under 4 minutes. And even a lot of people say the Optis are the best, one of the best on the market, etc. And they were still getting, they were complaining, shall we say? They were getting a bit warm, and a little bit squidgy. So, yeah, but I've got a nanotech here which just lasted about 3 flights before it went, nope, no more.
Nice. 3 flights, huh?
Yeah. It was second-hand given to me anyway, so it was kind of like, it was one of those people that went, I've got this battery, I don't have a model that I can use it anymore, you have it, kind of thing, and it was noticeably down on power straight away anyway.
Wow. Well, I'm still super happy with my Revolectrix batteries. All of my bigger batteries, I think I'm going to stick with Revolectrix, but it's the smaller ones that's tougher for me, just because of shipping costs and things like that. It's harder for me to justify it. Although I've never flown OptiPower or Pulse, so I can't compare really.
I think the Gens 8 are supposed to do it very good as well, I've heard.
I heard that. I heard they were good, although if you listen to the RC Heli Nation guys, they've had not very nice things to say about Gens 8 lately, so I don't know if there's been a manufacturing change or what, but
I've heard some interesting stories recently about the kind of information that's available, and it's been a little bit of an eye opener, shall we say? But I'm not going any more into that because I'm going to be politically correct. Because I don't like
be politically correct. I'll get with you offline for the details, but I think I know where you're going.
Yes, there's been some interesting stories floating around the internet, which are probably completely untrue, but yeah,
it's entirely likely. So.
Zippy batteries, they have worked pretty good for me. None of the ones that I have puffed as much as Eternity's. So I totally recommend them.
Yeah, I have some Zippies, and I fundamentally can't tell the difference between those and my Eternity's. As far as I'm concerned, they're probably the same battery.
Mine haven't puffed as eternities.
Nice. Christmas present I got, by the way. I asked my mom to get me, which basically means I ordered it and used her credit card to buy it. But it was a book. I don't know if you guys are readers, particularly reference books. I don't read fiction or anything, but I like reference. And I got Stick and Rudder by Wolfgang Langweis, an old book from the 40s that is very informative on the principles of flight and aerodynamics. And so, yeah, I've read chapter 1, and it was very just eye-opening for me. And I'm excited about the rest of the book, but I don't know if you guys have seen that book. It's actually designed, it's more for manned aviation, full-scale aviation, but all the principles that we enjoy in the hobby are the same. So how a wing works is the same on a full-scale plane as it is, on a model. But it's been very, and a lot of the things that I know about principles of flight are starting to click more and more as I dig into theory and also as I start training more on the full scale side, which right now has been simulator and ground school type instruction. But I haven't made it up in a plane just because I can't afford it and I don't have the time for it. But anyway, that's beside the point. But all these things are starting to make sense. Like you hear, that your rudder controls your speed and your throttle controls your altitude, and little things like that. I know I've heard them preached over and over again, but they're starting to finally click with me. Not only mentally, but in practice, I've been able to experiment with those concepts and really understand them. So. If you're interested in digging deeper into some of the whys and hows things work, I highly recommend Stick and Rudder. Matter of fact, I was talking to another fellow RC dude, and we were chatting about it on the phone the other day, and he was telling me that it changed how he flew RC. So I'm like, okay, this might be the right book for me. So Stick and Rudder. It's weird because everything that they knew back then about how things fly still exactly are the same today. So pretty cool stuff.
Haven't changed in the last 100 years.
Yep, it's funny how that works.
Well, we're still using the air to fly, so yeah. Shouldn't change anything.
And even back then, he's like, what is it, the Bernoulli principle that everybody says is how a wing works, and right away he's like, yeah, throw that out the window. That's there's probably some degree of accuracy in there, but that's not all that generates lift. And I've been struggling with that principle as well, because particularly on a 3D foamy, right, a flat wing design with no airfoil, it kind of throws the whole Bernoulli principle out the window if you remove the airfoil. So there are some interesting things that basically, it boils down to angle of attack and deflection. But Bernoulli's not wrong. That principle still exists. It's just not the only principle that causes flight. So anyway, bunch of interesting stuff there. But the book is you can get it on Amazon for like $15 in hardcover. And I think it's available in ebook too. But anyway, I think that's a good resource for stepping up your game a little bit in at least fixed wing flight. I don't think it's going to help me fly my helicopter any better, but who knows?
Yeah, I was talking about the Bernoulli principle. I was for donkeys. I've use the whole Bernoulli. That's the one that says the airflow over the top of the wing is going faster to meet because it has to go further to meet up at the trailing edge, and that was like, and I was reading something the other day and went, hang on, that's not right, really. And it just shows how little I've looked at the theory in the last 20 years. It's like,
Right.
It does still go faster over the top. It doesn't necessarily meet up at the trailing edge. But it's but the whole deflection stuff makes quite a lot of sense. For what, especially the high angle, high alpha stuff. It's,
Right.
And the fact that control surfaces still work when the wing's stalled and that sort of thing. It was quite a bit of an eye opener of, oh really? So that's not the only thing going on. But I suppose that makes sense, really, actually.
Yeah,
Right.
but that's the thing is when you're just kind of figuring this out and you're learning about what makes them fly. If you choose to get that far, some people probably don't even care. But when you're looking at what makes them fly, almost the very first thing you learn is the Bernoulli principle, and how the air has to speed up to go the same distance. But it's got further to go. And it's got to meet the other side, and that generates the low pressure, which causes the wing to pull.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is Bernoulli requires the wing to get pulled up, but all of the other principles at play, the air is being pushed down, and you can actually see that if you fly. If you watch a full-scale plane, particularly fly low altitude over a field, but even at our models, you can see the grass push down if you're flying over the grass, because the air is being pushed down more so than the wing is actually being pulled up. It's really kind of interesting.
Right, and it kind of falls apart with a fully symmetrical wing.
Right.
It doesn't really, because the angle of attack means that it still had the distance from, if you took a cylinder, and then took a wing off, the trailing edge of the wing off of it. If you tilt the wing downwards to get over the top, it's still got to go from here all the way around and then down the other side. Whereas underneath, it doesn't have to go as far underneath, even with a symmetrical section. Just the angle of attack will just still make the distance further, even on a symmetrical section. Does that make
Trying
sense?
to visualize that.
If you take a beer can, right, and just
Hypothetically speaking.
take a beer can and just draw a straight line off the back of it, and then draw another straight line off the back of that. That is a nice, simple, symmetrical section. There's no curves or anything like that, other than the leading edge. Now, if you drop the trailing edge down, so now you've got the airflow coming in from here and still flat. It's because it's round the corner, it's got to go up over the top and then down, isn't it? So that's further than it is around here. So it really doesn't completely fall apart, but yes, it is.
Right. No, it doesn't. Right. It doesn't totally fall apart, but it does.
But
it struggles.
Yeah.
I don't think it's the primary force at play. I think we're dealing with Newton's law probably more so than Bernoulli at that point, but
it's a combination of everything at the end of the day.
Well, that's what's cool about it is number one, it's a combination of several things, and nobody can clearly demonstrate any of them.
A friend of mine, a guy called Alan Head, who taught me to fly forward back in the early 90s. He was a model aircraft designer, and he used to talk to a guy that was, I think he worked for Boeing or something like that. So he knew his stuff with the aerodynamics, and he would say the aerodynamic theory is great for explaining what has happened, but it's bloody useless at predicting what will happen. So it's sort of, because it's so complicated, you can go, right, well, here's all this, this practical theory that we know about, and this happened, so, and that matches up with what we know about aerodynamics. That's great, but to actually, design, the tip fins, the winglets on the big stuff, that are incredibly complicated things, and if you look at the Formula One, the front wings and the rear wings on the Formula One cars, they do CFD and that sort of stuff, and they still do wind tunnel testing, but they still don't know for sure how good it's going to be until they get it on the track, and they've got millions of pounds. I think their budget. What was their budget? Because they limited the budget time for that sort of stuff. The budget for the aerodynamic stuff, and it was, they're still spending £10 million a year or something ridiculous like that. Wow. On CFD and wind tunnels and stuff, and they still don't know for sure until they get it out on the track.
That's crazy.
I know. It just shows how complicated it is.
Yeah, cool stuff though.
Oh yeah, awesome stuff.
All right, well, we got just a few minutes left. What else? Anything? Any other hot topics?
Yes. Well, I've been sitting around lately and contemplating the purchase of another radio. And have you guys taken a look at the new Gropner radios that they have?
I've just heard a lot about them and really interested. I checked them out, actually held one and played with a little bit at IRCHA this summer. And I've been listening to, well, I know several people who have bought one that are doing podcasting, right? So, or have them, like Bar and those guys. But it sounds really interesting. I will say that.
Yeah, that's one of the the integrated telemetry that they have in their receivers really intrigues me. That's one of the things. I also like the touch screen display. I haven't had a chance to even get my hands on one. I don't know if I ever will find a place locally that carries them. But just the limited reading I did over the last few days, it was interesting, especially at the price point. I think right now it's like $385 or something for the 9-channel, and it comes with a hard case, a 6-channel, and a 12-channel receiver with full telemetry.
Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
So not only receiver telemetry, but they have telemetry built into like ESCs and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right.
Really cool stuff.
And it's two-way data. So they're not just receiving data from your aircraft. They have the ability to transmit data and make changes on the fly to not only your receiver, but your ESC or your fly-barless controller. Those are the kind of things they're looking at with it in the future, very near future.
Cool. Now, how far away are you from San Diego?
It's about a 6-hour drive.
Oh, okay.
But, my wife is a regional HR director for a large hospital system, and one of her hospitals is there, so she goes there frequently, and sometimes I'll tag along for fun.
So Open Hobby is the retailer in the U.S. for Gropner, so.
Right.
That would be the
and
place to check them out.
yeah, Gropner just opened a U.S. Facility distribution center down in San Diego. They're going to have a service center and everything down there. So I may try to swing down there and check about at some point.
The ability to change stuff in the speed controller and specifically the flybarless, I assume that's only going to work with their own stuff, is it?
That would be my guess. I don't know how they would do it otherwise.
I mean, it could be. I know there are forces around that are trying to get some sort of standardized thing going. Because obviously you've got things like the V-bar control, which allows you to do that sort of stuff. But obviously it only works with the V-bar. And I know there are some people that are trying to get together and say, look, come on guys, let's be sensible about this. Let's make everything work with everything.
Right.
So then, it will be better for everybody then. But other than going to that sort of level of telemetry, I really struggle to get excited about radios these days. I mean, my 8FG kind of falls asleep flying a helicopter because it has throttle hold and idle up, and that's it. Really, it doesn't do anything else. Oh, sorry, no. It when I flick those throttle hold and idle up switches, it moves a channel that tells the flybarless what flight mode I'm in. That's it. That's all it does. Yeah.
Right.
But does it need to do anything else?
No, and that's the thing, because it all gets done in the flybarless. And that was one of the things that kind of attracted me with going back to the G Pro, was that being able to adjust it from my phone would be like, that's really cool to be able to just not have to approach the model to be able to adjust stuff. And to me, doing it on the phone is a bit of a bit of a hash. But it should be done on the radio and then sent to the flybarless unit. But that would require them getting together and coming up with some standard sort of protocols and.
Ha 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 ha.
Yeah.
Good luck.
What I heard was that they want to go after the high-end cinematography market that DJI is, primarily focusing on their high-end stuff. Whether it's too little, too late, whether they'll actually go that direction, I don't know. But I heard they want to start targeting the really high-end market, which is interesting. Because haven't they in the past really just been, a glider sailplane, and then moved into foamies?
The Groupner kind of was in bed a lot with JR back in the day. They had sort of big tray radios which used the JR sort of components, the electronics and the gimbals and that sort of stuff, but just in a different case. And they did also have the what did you guys call it? The 9303, JR 9303. They had one of those those mechanics, but with different software in it, which was, as you say, was more glider specific. But yeah, so they have been more glider based in the past. But it's certainly interesting to see what they come up with.
I've always thought that they were understood that they were kind of like the Spectrum over in Europe. I don't know if they're based in Germany, but are they more popular over there than
more European? Yeah, but I mean, we used to see them a bit. I mean, for instance, say for every maybe 5 Futaba and 5 JR radios, you might see kind of a Graupner and a multiplex. That sort of, and the F3F guys, the slope racing people, a lot of them use multiplex, and you'd see a higher proportion of those of the Graupner radios in that sort of community. But generally speaking, they were still pretty small.
All right. Doesn't Simone Zunter fly Graupner? She's a Thunder Tiger pilot over there.
Yeah, I've heard that. Talking of Thunder Tiger, but yeah, I think she does. But then she's German, so kind of, Graupner being German as well, it kind of makes sense.
Speaking of Thunder Tiger,
yeah, I've heard it's all going a bit tits up.
Holy cow! So in the United States, it is at least the Hobbyco relationship with Thunder Tiger has been officially and formally severed. So they're no longer supporting team pilots or anything. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I saw that they were clearing out their stock on Tower Hobby.
Yeah, it's funny though, because I know, Casper, I think you sent me a note a while back about them closing out. I can't afford to buy any parts right now, sadly, but this is the time to do it. Yeah, it's
or sell now before they're worth nothing at all.
Yeah.
Before there aren't any parts, sell the airframes quick. That's the sort of two options you've got, really.
The bad thing is, I really like my my E700, and I don't want to sell it. I love it. It's an awesome heli, but yeah, it's like, I mean, if I have no support locally, that's going to be a problem, because I'm not good enough to keep an airframe without crashing it for very long.
Yeah, nobody is. Nobody is. They do tend to throw themselves at the ground occasionally, no matter what you do.
Bernoulli principle.
Gravity. It's called gravity.
Yes, it is called gravity.
Gravity. What's one of those laws of physics? I don't know.
It's not physics at all. It's Murphy. But yeah, so that's. I mean, it's been a bit pants over here for a while because Amarang, who are the UK dealer, went under and got taken over by Ritmax, who are the Futaba people, and Kyosho and stuff. And so, but they've kind of been just sat on it. And there's people there's people going, look, these models are really good. Why aren't things happening over here? Like I remember the conversation we had about when you got your 550. I was like, oh, I quite fancy one of those. But let's see if I can find someone to talk to see if we can get one for review. And not one person anywhere in the world replied to my email.
Yeah.
Thunder Tiger in the Far East, UK distributor, Amarang and Ritmax, Nick Maxwell, and just nobody replied at all to anything. Not even a hi, yeah, thanks, but no thanks. Just nothing at all. Not even an acknowledgement of receipt. So I mean, is it Hobbyco that's decided to give up, or is it Thunder Tiger that have pulled out, or?
Well, I understand, and I'm trying to be careful because I've been talking to people that I know confided me with some information, so I don't want to be too revealing. But I'm pretty sure Hobbyco is the one that said, "That's it, we're done." But don't quote me on that.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, it's pretty naff, really. It's when you've got a manufacturer that's producing decent models that people enjoy flying. It's not cheap tat, is it? At the end of the day, I mean,
it's not.
It's good stuff. It's just, no.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm bummed. Particularly with my decision to build a Thunder Tiger heli. this summer that I finally got put together, over the fall. And it's like, man, now that I'm finally got my big heli, it's I'm not sure what to do now. So
Yeah,
but
pants.
I can't afford to go buy up all the spare parts. So
I'm kind of in the same boat with the 550X. Blade is pretty much dumping that.
right.
I guess the only saving grace there is Blade has stated that they will maintain spare parts for the next 3 years.
Oh wow, that's longer than I would have expected.
Yeah, so I'll keep it flying. I'm not going to jump ship yet.
Yeah, they killed the whole pro line, didn't they?
Yeah, I can't understand that. I think it was actually a really good seller for them as the first larger helis that they came out with that people oohed and awed all over and really liked. And they killed it. I'm not sure why.
The Blade stuff never kind of really got much interest over here. It's, I think they were a bit expensive. I know the 700X was quite a lot of money for whilst the helicopter was good, the brand name was a bit cheap, if you see what I mean.
Right.
Because of the small stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's how it is here, where they're considered, the supplier of micro, and ready to flies. It's kind of hard to break out of that mold.
Yeah, it's there's some good models out there that aren't getting any attention, and partly because they're just not getting any support. It's a bit of a shame, really.
Yeah. All right, guys. It's been a couple hours. Any last minute? Anything else we need to get out before we wrap up?
I'm going to be cheeky and say Rotor Show on Tuesday.
Rotor Show on Tuesday.
Yeah.
That's not cheeky. That's fair game. All right, guys. Well, I appreciate the chat. Hope you all have a great start to your new year, and we will do this again in 2 weeks. Fair?
Sounds good.
And I'll catch you on the next one.
Cool.
Yeah, guys. Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Good night.
Great year to all.